Think beautiful buildings are worth preserving automatically? Think again. Across America, hundreds of architectural masterpieces sit empty and deteriorating, abandoned railway stations so beautiful they were once the pride of their cities. While we debate preserving museums and theaters, we've quietly allowed our greatest railway stations to crumble into dust. Today, you're going to discover 5 architectural treasures that America is losing and stories of efforts to save some of them. Get ready to understand why these stations matter and why some cities are fighting to keep them alive. In the early 1900s, railway companies built stations as monuments to transportation and community pride. They hired famous architects. They used the finest materials. They designed spaces intended to last centuries. A railway station wasn't just infrastructure, it was a statement about the city's importance and the railway's power. Buffalo Central Terminal opened in 1929. Detroit's Michigan Central Station opened in 1913. Union Station locations appeared in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. These weren't utilitarian structures. They were cathedrals of transportation. But starting in the 1950s, passenger rail declined. Stations that once hummed with thousands of daily passengers became quiet. Eventually, they closed. Today, many sit abandoned, some crumbling, some converted to new purposes, some fighting for survival. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore America's forgotten railway stations and the preservation efforts fighting to save them. This is the story of architectural treasures we're losing. Buffalo Central Terminal, the Art Deco masterpiece facing restoration. Buffalo Central Terminal, which opened in 1929, is one of America's most beautiful Art Deco buildings. Its sleek lines, geometric designs, and ornamental details made it the most modern railway station of its era. The building was so architecturally significant that experts compared it to Grand Central Terminal in design innovation. Yet by the 1970s, it had become largely abandoned. What made Buffalo Central special was its architectural style. The Art Deco movement celebrated modernity, efficiency, and beauty combined into geometric harmony. The station represented the moment when American design embraced both function and aesthetics. For decades, the station deteriorated. Windows broke. Weather damaged the exterior. But in recent years, preservation efforts have accelerated. The building has been added to restoration projects. Advocates work to transform it into mixed-use space, hotel, restaurant, cultural center that honors its architectural significance. For architecture students, Buffalo Central Terminal represents the Art Deco movement at its peak. City Hall Subway Station, hidden beauty beneath New York. In New York City, directly beneath the modern downtown Manhattan, sits City Hall Subway Station, the original station from New York's first subway line in 1904. The station was decommissioned in 1945 because the subway line shifted, making it inaccessible to passengers. For decades, it sat underground, perfectly preserved but completely unused, known only to transit workers and urban explorers. What made City Hall Subway Station special was its architectural integrity. Because it was sealed and unused, it experienced no weathering, no vandalism, and no modernization. It remained exactly as it appeared in 1904, tiled walls, ornamental elements, lighting fixtures, all original. The New York Transit Museum eventually opened the station for rare public tours, revealing a time capsule of early 20th century design. For preservationists, City Hall demonstrates what happens when structures are protected from use and abuse. They survive perfectly intact for over a century. Union Station, the architectural icon replicating across America. Union Station, the name and architectural style, appears in multiple American cities: Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and others. These stations were designed as monuments to the railway's importance and the city's civic pride. Built in Beaux-Arts and classical revival styles, they featured soaring arches, dramatic waiting rooms, and ornamental luxury. What made Union Station special was their consistency of vision. Railway companies wanted passengers in every major city to experience the same sense of arriving at something important. The architectural language, classical beauty, monumentality, expensive materials communicated the same message everywhere: this railway matters to your city. Different Union stations had different fates. Some remain in use, some have been converted to other purposes, some face abandonment. Philadelphia's 30th Street Station is being modernized, others have become hotels or event spaces. The preservation of Union stations has become a model for how historic buildings can adapt to contemporary uses. The preservation challenge: economics and historic integrity. The fundamental problem facing abandoned railway stations is economic. These buildings are enormous. They require massive maintenance budgets. Their original purpose, passenger railway service, has largely disappeared. Converting them to new uses is expensive. Demolishing them is tragic. Thus, many stations remain in limbo. Too valuable to destroy, too expensive to maintain, no clear purpose driving their use. What makes this challenge special is that it reveals a gap between historical importance and economic viability. A building can be architecturally significant, irreplaceable, and impossible to maintain profitably. The solution requires either extraordinary funding, creative reuse, community commitment, or some combination. Some communities have found solutions, converting stations to breweries, hotels, cultural centers, office space. Others lack resources to do anything except watch their stations deteriorate. Restoration success stories: when communities save stations. Some American cities have successfully restored their railway stations. Examples include transforming stations into train stations converted to breweries, where the station's rotunda becomes dining and brewing space. Historic details are preserved while the building gains new purpose. Converted stations becoming luxury hotels, with platform areas becoming lobbies and waiting rooms becoming grand hotel spaces. Historic railway stations becoming cultural centers, hosting performances, exhibits, and community events in their beautiful spaces. These restorations share common elements: significant funding, community support, creative vision about what the building could become, and respect for historical integrity while adapting to modern use. What makes these successes special is that they prove restoration is possible. They demonstrate that abandoned stations don't have to deteriorate forever. They show that communities willing to invest can save these architectural treasures. They provide blueprints for other cities facing similar challenges. Why these stations matter: connecting to America's railway heritage. Railway stations matter because they represent how Americans once valued transportation and infrastructure. Building beautiful stations acknowledged that railways mattered to communities. The architectural investment communicated that this transportation system deserved respect. Today, when we lose railway stations to decay or demolition, we lose connections to that history. What makes this connection special is that these stations are irreplaceable. New stations can't replicate the architectural brilliance of 1920s design teams. New stations can't carry the historical weight of having served millions of passengers over a century. When a historic railway station is demolished, that loss is permanent. The architectural knowledge embedded in its design, the stories its walls could tell, the beauty it represents all vanish. America's abandoned railway stations represent both a loss and an opportunity. Many have deteriorated because the railway purpose that created them has declined. Yet many remain architecturally significant, reusable, and worth saving. The challenge is commitment and resources. Buffalo Central Terminal, City Hall, subway station, and others demonstrate that preservation is possible when communities decide these buildings matter. The next time you pass an abandoned railway station, remember this: there was once a community that believed this building deserved beauty and permanence. If that building still stands, restoration is possible. If you've enjoyed this exploration of America's forgotten railway stations, please like this video and subscribe for more stories about the buildings and infrastructure that shaped American transportation.